All right, so today we're going to talk about do or should you be involved in or get involved in the food and beverage industry, restaurants. Um, so you're coming out of high school, going into college, and you're thinking about becoming a chef. Maybe you are in high school and you have dreams of becoming a chef or um, cruise lines or airline catering or anything dealing with food and beverage management. Because eventually you go into management or you go into ownership of a company. A few things that you want to consider at the very, very beginning is the amount of time that's involved. Um, Becoming a chef, or I say chef because I'm a chef, but going into the food and beverage industry is a lot like going into um, being in the medical field and as it pertains to your hours and amount of time that you go in. So the average restaurant food and beverage manager minimum works about 55 hours a week. So that's already about 15 hours more a week minimum. Keyword is minimum. And then all your other 9 to 5s. Okay, this is not overtime pay. I repeat, this is not overtime pay. Uh, you when you go onto salary, become a manager of any kind of a food and beverage establishment, minimum requirement is typically 50 to 55 hours. And even if they say 50, you will be there 55. Some places are claiming, quality of life. The last 10 years, they've been kind of gearing towards that. And if you get to some big hotel branch, you might get into that 50 range, but you're going to average 52, 53. But for the rest of the industry, minimum is 55. Now, when I was coming up in the industry, um, 60 hours, 65 hours was pretty much a regular for me, and it's every single week. Especially once you get to the level of um, chef, a sous chef, or general manager, or assistant general manager, beverage manager. There's just so much to do. I often told people that I would do enough today so I won't be too far behind tomorrow. Because unlike most 9 to 5 jobs, there is no end. It's a constant. What's it's like turning on an engine. Once you turn that key and the engine turns on, there's no. As long as there's gas, the engine's going to run, unless there's some catastrophic failure. Same thing with the food and beverage industry. Once that door opens and they get that establishment running, um, as long as people are coming, that's the gas, and that is going to keep on going. There's always going to be someone knocking to get the next delivery, next order, next commission, whatever it may be. Um, and unless there's some kind of catastrophic failure, i.e., place catches on fire, the hoods go down, the computer system crashes, and even when the computer system crashes, that's not even a catastrophic failure these days. We find ways around that. Unless there's a catastrophic failure in the establishment, it will run. And it will run with you and without you. Um, so, are you prepared to work long, 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 long work hours and work days? If you are interested in books, Kitchen Confidential was a good book for you to read if you're interested in getting into the industry. It does exaggerate some points, but for the most part, 95% of what it's saying is true. If your grandmother dies, bury her on a Monday. I missed my grandfather's funeral. I've missed several big important engagements because I couldn't get time off, especially once you get into management. You don't go on holidays when everybody else goes on holidays, because when everyone else goes on holidays, that's when you're busy. Whenever season you live in, where everyone's coming to visit, or if you're in a seasonal area like Miami, LA, New York, where people come and visit during certain times of years, you're not going anywhere. You're stuck. So that means holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, There's no you taking out mom on Mother's Day. There's no Most of the time there's no you taking out your girlfriend, wife on Valentine's Day. There's no Christmas vacations or winter vacations. It doesn't happen in the restaurant industry. They actually block it out. It's blacked out. Like no one goes on vacation during those high peak periods of time. You are going on vacation when everyone else isn't. So if prime time, say South Florida is winter, you know, let's say from basically from Black Friday to through Mother's Day in South Florida, you don't leave, you don't go nowhere. Maybe less than 5% of all the staff may be able to, under special circumstances, be able to take some kind of vacation, but that's 5% or less. Outside of that, everyone else, especially management, sticking around. Then after that, usually, I can give you an example in South Florida, our slowest period of time is that August, September, October, right? That's that little gap in between when season ends, then you got a little bit of summertime and you're about to transition into winter, and that's the slowest. I mean, where the restaurants are, you dropped from, $100,000 weeks, and that's a slow week for, I've never worked in a restaurant that did that. Usually we're doing, $40,000 a day. So, but just for example, you're doing $100,000 a week in season. You're dropping down to $30,000 a week out of season. So that gives you an idea of how much volume you lose, and that can transition to millions. If you're doing, $500,000 a week, you're dropping down to, $500,000 a month. Then you're doing, you're dropping down to $100,000 for the whole entire month. So give you an idea of how slow it's going to be. That's one. Two, do you have thick skin? Um, because what you see on TV and stuff is an exaggeration, but it's not too far from it. All right, you're going to be dealing with lots of criticism from day one. Criticism about everything you do. You need to be a fast-paced individual, someone who can move fast. To take you a long time to accomplish things. Do people say that you walk slow? That kind of stuff is not going to fly in a restaurant. You may get there and learn how to not do this. Um, how's your cleanliness organization? If you don't know how to do it, they're going to teach you how to do it. They're going to make you do it because you have to do a lot of things, a little bit amount of time, and you have to be clean with it. So that's another thing. Um, the restaurant industry is one of the last industries where you could have nothing. You could be coming out of jail, coming out of prison, coming from a different country, and walk in and find a family. I can tell you that much. You can walk in if you're a hard worker, and you're gonna put the axe to the metal and grind it out, as we say, get on the front line and work it out and sweat it out. You can pretty much survive anywhere if you're willing to listen, learn, and and evolve. All right, you have to be willing to change all the time. Going to culinary school. Now that's culinary school, just like any school, is what you make of it. I would advise going to a real culinary school. I'm not really into technical schools really because they don't talk about a lot of the fundamentals that I went through going to Johnson Wells, or for those who went to CIA. Some of these technical schools are really taking advantage of the students, and what I mean is bringing it in there, fleecing you of your money, and sending you out with a little bit more than a few recipes that you've made and a serve safe certificate, and that's not enough. If you leave culinary school and you don't know your mother sauces, you don't know how to cook an egg properly. You've never sous vide. You've never braised anything. You don't know smoking points. You don't know how to cook without salt what would be the right way to cook without salt. If you had a low sodium diet, what would you do to impart flavor? If you can't, if you don't know your julienne, your brunoise, if you don't know all your dices, if you can't properly emulsify things, if you can't make a proper stock, if you don't know what a demi glaze is, if you can't cream something out. These are very fundamental things coming out of culinary school that you should know. And a lot of this stuff you will learn in the industry in time. So you do not need to go to culinary school to learn that stuff. You can go into the industry, but there's so many different things that you'll maybe learn one or two mother sauces working here, and then another mother sauce working there, and stuff like that. But they won't teach you. They won't teach you that it is a mother sauce. So that's stuff that you have to go out and learn by yourself. Um, and the same thing goes for restaurant management. If you come out of a business, restaurant business, or a food and beverage management, and you can make a menu, you can't write a theoretical, you can't cost, you can't write a schedule properly, you can't write a floating man schedule, you can't calculate hours versus sales to get your percentages, food cost percentage, labor cost percentage. You don't know how to do a proper P&L. These are all things that you should know coming out of even food and beverage. Even a culinary degree should encompass that as well. But especially food and beverage management should definitely encompass all of that. So my recommendation, if you are going to go to school, go get your culinary arts, and then go get your bachelor's in food and beverage management. That's what I did. From there, if you really want to specialize, nutrition's really good. Getting into nutrition and are just going right ahead and getting your bachelor's in food and beverage, bachelor's and culinary is fine as well. Um, but if you're not going to do all that, then you definitely need to be in the industry for quite some time, and it's going to be a lot of long hours. You need to, if you really want to get good at something, you need to practice whatever it is. If you want to be a good chef, you need to practice your knife skills, reading books all the time, reading books, reading books, reading books, reading books. I can't say enough about reading culinary books, restaurant books, um, management, leadership skill books will get you a long way and keep your mind going. Um, as far as pay goes, when you start off, you're not going to do so well. Typically, introductory management makes anywhere between 35 to 45 introductory, and then, but after you put in some time, and when I mean time, I mean 1 to 2 years. You typically can get a $5,000 to $10,000 raise. When I was working in early 2000s, as a sous chef, I was probably making 35,000, 32,000. But when I left that job after 2 years and went to my next job, I got a $10,000 raise to 42,000. And then I was there for just over a year and a half, 2 years, small percentage raises along the way. And when I left that job, went to the next job, I was making over 55,000. So in the course of like 6 years, I got $20,000 raise. So, but that was a lot of hard work, a lot of pushing, and then again, obviously from that point on, I got up to high 80s, 90s. Um, but that was from years and years and years and years of hard work, and there's no guarantee that you're going to continue making that throughout your career. You may peak at some point with one job and then drop way back down, depending on supply, demand, your availability, your schedule. I had children, so that changed my entire availability. But when you want to get into the $100,000 and be above bracket, you have to be ultimately available all the time, nights and weekends. You're basically an on-call person that is always available. You do not have time off, and often you don't take vacations ever. So um, that's the gist of it. If you're interested in being in the restaurant, food and beverage industry, you're going to work long hours, long nights, not have a lot of time with family and friends. Children's going to be very, very difficult, especially um, relationships. We have the highest divorce rate, highest next to doctors and lawyers and Wall Street, highest suicide rate. Just be careful. Be sure you have a passion for it. Be sure that you love it, because if you don't, It will eat you up and spit you out.